Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's the one show where you do not have to be worried about judgmental people because we'll do all the judging for you. We've got a fantastic panel, we've got some fantastic planks and the nominations are coming thick and fast. And here we are. Let me introduce you first of all to the great panel. We've got Alex Phillips, we've got Will Geddes, we've got Chloe Dobbs and we've got Steve Denyer from Virgin Radio. And here, of course, is the plank that we're going to be fighting for. And there is the plank noise. Let's get into it straight away. Alex Phillips, the Green Party have been in the news this week, haven't they?
Haven't they just? I mean, this is the party of pronouns and wokery, and then you've got some guy shouting Allahu Akbar at the local election.
I didn't know that was their new slogan.
That is their new
It's a good slogan, isn't it? Catchy.
I'm just wondering what pronouns he's going to decide to use and which particular aspect of net zero he's committed to.
Right. I thought the Green Party wasn't anything to do with the green Hamas headband, but obviously, you know, when you are in Hamas, you wear a green...
it's the green in the Palestine flag.
And there is green in the Palestine flag. Yeah. There is also green in the crescent, isn't there? So, I mean, I suppose there is some greenery to be...
there is some greenery to be had.
Shall we have a look at what he did before we carry on? Come on, let's have another look.
We will not be silent. We will raise the voice of Gaza. We will raise the voice of Palestine. Allahu Akbar.
Perhaps he wants to put a ULEZ zone in.
Oh, no doubt.
You know.
I mean, that is number one of his priorities.
He wants clean air for Leeds and
Gaza. In Gaza, probably.
Hang on, is he supposed to be looking after potholes and things like
potholes,
that? You know,
bins,
I think he's more interested in
recycling
bins, if I'm honest with you.
very good.
But,
what about Osama bin Laden?
There you go. All the bins of the Arabic world.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing is about this, I've known for a long time, as have those who follow politics closely, that the Green Party aren't just nice little people with funny haircuts, short fringes, placards who care about, I don't know, recycling and turtles.
Yeah.
They're actually very, very extreme.
They are.
Always have been. They're the most fascistic party.
Yes.
They're aggressive.
Well, look what they did
angry.
to Scotland. They were the ones that brought in all the gender ideology into Scotland.
I wonder what this guy thinks of the Rainbow Greens. I've got a feeling he might disagree with them.
He might not be in favour of it, to be honest, yeah.
This is how desperate they are, you know, that they've allowed these people to stand on a pro-Palestine ticket. Now, there's nothing wrong with, you know, deciding who you want to back in a foreign war, one assumes. I suppose there's not really anything wrong with shouting, God is great when you get elected.
Maybe not.
But there's something about the optics of this that make a lot of people uncomfortable. And if you dig into this guy's history...
Yes, well, they should have known.
a hate campaign against a rabbi.
Yes, they had the business with Sian Berry, didn't they, in London, in the London Assembly, where she got elected as the sort of leader of the Green Party, and then immediately decided that she was going to resign the seat and go and stand in Brighton as an MP, because that's where Caroline Lucas, and then she sort of grandfathered over her seat to the next Green person in line, who wasn't elected at all.
I mean, the Green Party, despite people thinking they're just cuddly wombles who want the planet to be saved, they are not.
No.
Let us not deceive ourselves. They are very, very extreme.
Yeah.
They sort of force everybody into this drop-down menu. They don't care who they recruit.
Right.
It seems to me their top priority isn't saving the planet, but destroying the West.
Well, exactly right.
Frankly.
Mohsin Ali, did you see his statement? Because they didn't suspend him. They basically said that they were going to investigate how it could have happened. And as far as I know, he still hasn't been suspended. But he came out with this absolute guff and said he was sorry if what he said had caused any upset. But then he accused the media of taking his words out of context. You're going, you were shouting Allahu Akbar and you were saying that you were going to keep the Palestinian voice alive. You weren't really taken out of context. And then he said he was the victim of Islamophobia.
What? That's always their card to pull, isn't it? Always their card to pull.
I mean, it seems to me like the environment is the lowest priority on the Green Party's list at the moment. I mean, don't forget that this whole fallout with Humza Yousaf, which seems to have led to him resigning, started off with a fallout not really about the environment. That was like a side note. It was all about the cash review, them saying that this is a murder charter and that we need to keep on pumping hormones into little kids. They don't seem to care about the environment at all.
I mean, we should probably have a moment for Humza Useless, because, I mean, he's now no longer the First Minister of Scotland. This time last week, he was. And now we've got John Swinney back, who was First Minister of Scotland 20 years ago.
The funny thing is that Humza Useless has gone for actually doing something useful for once, for stopping...
How ironic.
I know, for stopping the puberty blockers being given to kids and cancelling these ridiculous net zero targets. So it's quite ironic. I'm glad he's gone, but he actually did something useful to end up
and then again, the Greens have now got back into bed with the SNP because they were able to support them in the vote of no confidence. So the government is still in in government, in fact, in Scotland. So presumably they'll now have to go all the way back to the new net zero commitments again anyway.
They can't afford it. They haven't got enough money in Scotland unless they get oil out. That's the only way they fund their exchequer up there. Well, we have to give them money, so they live in cloud cuckoo land if they don't want the black
they really
stuff.
do. But it's a great start, I have to say, both in Ali and the Green Party. Will, what's yours?
Well, I've obviously got 2 nominations today, Michael. I wanted to have a third one, and I'll just pop that in, and that would be everybody in London who voted for Sadiq Khan to become mayor again.
Yes, very good.
And I think they are a universal plank.
Yeah, all 50 of them suddenly translated into 1 million. Yeah. Sorry, that's just a joke, by the way, if anybody's watching.
I mean, that would have been my option. Yeah. However, mine is the
Thank God for the postal ballot, eh?
Oh, yeah.
All those people that have abacuses and 85 fingers counting.
Yeah. That's high-rise blocks.
Yeah, there are a few of them. I won't say which boroughs, but there you go.
Anyway,
moving swiftly on. Boy Scouts of America have decided to change their name to Scouting America.
Scouting?
Yes, and I think part of that is
Isn't there a band called Scouting for Girls?
There is.
Thank you very much indeed.
Our man from Virgin Radio would know.
I think I'm not up to the hits.
So
they're probably about 15 years old, right?
Again, it's this kind of it's this modularising of these organisations.
Yeah.
They've had this name for literally 140 odd years or something. So to change it now to Scouting America. Not that it makes a great deal of difference, to be honest, because there have been girls over in America. Right. It's unlike us having the Scouts, the Cubs, and
But I remember
and
when I lived in America, they had the Girl Scouts, right? Because they used to make Girl Scouts cookies, and that was what they put out. You know, they're very keen on community development in America, and you'd go down the sort of local neighbourhood, and there'd be kids out selling lemonade and Girl Scout cookies, and I presumed therefore they were Girl Scouts. But so now they're not Girl Scouts.
No. It's now Scouting America, and I think this is a fairly poor option. And let's go to optics again, Alex, in terms of them trying to take away from the £2.5 billion bankruptcy that they've saved themselves from, and also the fact that 800,000 individuals have brought sex suits or sexual assault suits against various Scout masters.
Oh dear.
So really, changing it to Scouting America's probably not going to make a great deal of difference.
I'm told that they want to make it more inclusive so that not only can Girl Scouts join, but non-binary Scouts can also join.
Absolutely, because they're important.
Let's have a look at the Boy Scout recruitment video. Here we go.
They grow so fast, but Scouting provides a family opportunity to be involved in something that makes a difference in our son, that he will carry with him through his adult years. We could be involved in a lot of different things, but with Scouting, we are truly involved as a family.
As a family.
I'm welling up just.
Is that Meghan?
Yeah. Why was she crying?
I don't know.
What's to cry about in that? I don't get it.
Look, it's sad. It's emotional. I don't know what's going on.
It's moving.
I thought they had the girl guide. Didn't have girl guides anymore.
I don't know. It's all under Scouting America now, and that's all we really care about.
I once went to become a Cub Scout when I was about, I think, 6 or 7.
They threw you out?
No, we went. This is my commitment level to almost everything. You can judge from this. We went down. My mother and I went down to the local Scout place, and it was shut. And that was it. I never went back. Oh, well, they weren't open. Never mind. Chloe, you've got possibly the great winner here, I think.
Oh, glad to know I don't need to do any effort.
I'm not saying you've got it yet, but I mean, it's the story. Also, the story.
So we've got the MP Natalie Elphicke.
Yes.
Has very surprisingly decided to defect to the Labour Party, and everyone on both sides, both Labour MPs and Tory MPs, are like, what the hell is going on? This just makes no sense. Because this is not, say, like Dan Poulter, someone who's more of a centrist nomination Tory. This is someone who would be considered to be more on the right of the Tory party. And
quite a long way to the right of the
and she is the MP for Dover, so she and her constituents really care about the small boats. And of course she is frustrated that the Conservatives haven't done anything about it. But she has berated Keir Starmer multiple times, saying that they won't stop the boats at all, and that they are a party for open borders.
There's the tweets here,
Yeah, so you've got tweets from her here. I can't read that from here, but...
if Labour's only policy is to rely on the French, then they are not serious about stopping small boats, tackling criminality, protecting people from the smuggling gangs, or saving lives in the Channel.
Yeah, so she's put up all of these tweets berating the Labour Party over and over and over again. And now she's just claiming that she's a changed woman and she fits in with the changed Labour Party. It makes no sense whatsoever. If she wanted to defect because the Conservatives haven't done enough about the small boats, it would make more sense for her to defect to Reform.
Do you think there's stuff that we don't know here, and there's secret goings on and there's maybe a deal that's been done? Because it doesn't make sense, does it?
But what kind of deal?
Some people. Well, she supposedly is saying that she's not standing at the general election because the obvious thing you think when you see this is, oh, she's just doing it so that she can save her job.
So she can stay in, But
apparently she's not running. So everyone on both sides is confused. The Labour MPs are saying, do we not have any quality control in the party whatsoever? It's not like, well, at least as the poll suggests, that Keir Starmer's going to be on a knife edge to get a majority.
Right.
He's probably going to get a stonking majority and doesn't need her. So it just doesn't, and she's not going to run anyway. So it just doesn't make sense at all.
No.
What on earth is she doing?
I know. It's very, very odd indeed. And I mean, I know people are saying there must be something more to it. And there sort of must be. But on the other hand, I was talking to a former Labour advisor today who said, you know, it might just be that the public will see a Tory converting over to Labour, and that will be the message. It doesn't really matter what the ins and outs of it are. They won't really know who she is. They won't really know what she thought or did. And then all they'll see is, oh, somebody from the Tory party's gone to Labour. So therefore we shouldn't vote Tory because they're crap. You know, that kind of thing. So it's possible. But I'm looking forward to her meeting Rachel Reeves at the first kind of, you know, inner sanctum meeting, because Rachel Reeves once told her to fuck off.
I don't know how she's going to make friends.
When she had a go at Marcus Rashford about his free school meals. Rachel Reeves wasn't too keen, shall we say. But let's have a look at what she had to say when she went down to Dover to join some protesters who were protesting against the small boats.
You voted for fire and rehire! You voted for fire and rehire! You voted for fire and rehire! Shame on you! 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 Shame on you!
They started heckling her and shouting "shame on you" because she was so useless as an MP.
Useless.
I mean,
this is a woman who got her job because her husband was a sex pest.
Who she defended, by the way.
Who she defended repeatedly.
She said he was only chasing them around the kitchen table like Benny Hill or something like
that. no, what she said was, well, it's not his fault. He's both attracted to and attractive to women. It's like, what a ridiculous excuse that is.
And then he went to prison.
There used to be rumours that she was going to end up in court herself over perjury. It never happened. Yes. But I remember a lot of us sort of drumming our fingers on the table thinking, will there be a Dover by-election?
But she did
she should call one now.
She did sort of inherit the seat, didn't she? She didn't really kind of...
Absolutely, it's weird. I don't know why the Conservative Party do that. Peter Bone, other sex pest. I know who we should put up. His girlfriend.
Yes.
Why do they do that?
Because that's the only way they know how to do things, I think. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing.
Is this why I'm not in Parliament? Because my boyfriend's not a sex pest?
Yeah, it could be.
What I need to do?
Yeah, this is where you've been going wrong.
Okay.
Although you were in the European Parliament, I mean, there's plenty of sex pests there already.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Well, you know.
Savage, Michael.
Well, if you've been to Brussels, I mean, crikey.
Yeah, that's true. Sex pest central.
That's all they do. There's nothing else going on.
Sex pestery.
Apart from putting mayonnaise on your chips. Steve, over to you. What's your first nomination?
Talking of sex pests, everyone.
Yeah.
Not me, my story. We're going to talk about prison staff. It turns out they are naughty. I don't know if I can say the word.
They are sex pests.
Shagging, but they're certainly sharing their affections. Over 80 prison staff have been sacked or reprimanded since 2013 for having dealings with inmates.
Right.
And it seems to be...
Yeah, can we expand on dealings?
You say dealings.
I think it's both drugs and sex, because a lot of the staff bring in drugs into the building.
Yeah.
We had that, I can't remember which outlet, that journalist went and worked there for a week and saw what the security was like. And I think only one day of the week they actually checked his bag on the way in. He was able to just walk in and he could take whatever drugs and move. So that's another thing.
So are these 80 staff, are they having, I mean, I'm sorry to be specific here, but are these men's prisons, women's prisons? What are they?
I think they're mixed prisons, but 18 female staff were found to have relationships in one.
So the female warders?
Yes.
Well, why have they even got female warders?
Yeah.
It seems to be a massive problem. Like,
what a really good idea. Lock some men up together for years on end, right?
Yeah.
And then when they have to come out to be paraded around in sort of close proximity to the people who are supposed to be guarding them, make them women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh?
Doesn't really make sense.
Who comes up with that idea?
No.
Sorry, anyway.
It's a cracking ITV drama in the making, this month,
It is.
on a Sunday evening. I think everybody. It's like, what did we say earlier? Oranges are the new...
Orange is the new black.
Orange is the new black.
All over
without the lesbians.
Yeah.
But a shocking increase here, 27% rise in female staff having it off with inmates.
Mind you, I've seen some of these female warders, and you would need to be on drugs to have sex with them. But,
I saw a movie about that one.
Well, when you've been locked in prison that long, you can get a bit desperate, I guess.
I think that's probably true, yeah. You haven't been in prison, have you, Chloe?
No, I haven't.
Thank God for that. Anyway, so carry on.
I've never been to a prison.
Haven't you?
No.
I don't believe that for a minute. What about on your travels?
I've seen some movies. No, I haven't.
Have you not been to Alcatraz?
Never. Oh, yes, I have been.
You have been to Alcatraz.
That was a late night visit.
Yeah.
But we won't.
I'm not going to ask you about that, no. Nice, sexy San Francisco, though.
It's a beautiful.
It is.
It really is my favourite place in the world.
I'm not surprised.
But back to this, they're wrong-uns, Alex.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. I mean, what's going on in the world that you can't go to work without, I don't know, getting your end away? Just get a boyfriend.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, they are in prison, though.
Although there is that sort of age-old sort of
if you say to them, get a
idea
boyfriend,
that
that
women
leads
like
to
a
some
bad
other
boy,
bad
so
things that
maybe
can happen.
that's it. But I don't know.
You see, it's a bit like these mad women who write to serial killers in prison.
Yeah,
I don't really get that.
No.
I never understood that.
And marry them.
I don't get it.
And then marry them too.
It seems to be that people can't go to work for 8 hours a day without having off with someone. Because we've just seen recently this story about a doctor who's been suspended because he was shagging everyone. All
Do you
his
want to know
patients
something?
that
Do you
were
want to know
coming
a
in,
really
apparently.
fun fact? That doctor
The doctor
who lives
will
in
see you now.
Gloucester, I actually dated him.
No way.
You are joking.
What?
Brilliant.
I mean, this is
What?
the
Sex
awful
pest
evil
doctor.
the
This
porno
sex doctor?
Yeah, the sex doctor.
You dated
I
him?
actually went on a couple of dates with him.
No.
I can't ask you the... Can I ask you the question?
No.
Did you?
What?
Well,
Don't ask me questions like that.
Dare
no,
say yes.
we went
Whoever
out
I heard.
for brunch
no,
with Bill's.
I didn't finish the
Gloucester
sentence.
Keys.
Did you go to dinner with him?
I went for brunch with him at Bill's.
Brunch.
He lived in Gloucester, and it was
No way.
during sort of COVID.
Dr.
I'd
Foster
come
went
back
to
from
Gloucester.
Brussels
Yes.
to
And
stay with
shagged
my
Alex
parents.
Phillips.
No. When I was growing up, though, my doctor was called Dr. Foster.
This is
but
a
no,
lot
I
more
actually-
interesting than
Yeah.
this.
I
Yeah,
actually
love it.
did go
So,
on
Alex,
a few dates
tell
with
us
that
more
guy.
about this, would you?
And he is like the last person you would assume would be an ultra
Did he use...
sex pest.
Did he
Really?
use
Sometimes
his
it is the
stethoscope?
ones that you
At any
Shut
time.
up. Don't be like that. I was staying with my parents at the time, so it was all very
All
sort
right.
of, you know.
Well, it's all
proper.
funny down there in
It was all
Gloucester.
proper there.
mate.
But no, he was sort of quite quiet and very charming, an intelligent guy who studied at
pestering.
Cambridge.
Yeah.
And you
Did
kind
he
of
take a
think-
lot of phone calls while he was at
But
dinner?
then what happened? No, but this is it. This is why in the end I was like, I don't want to
Texting
date you
a lot of
anymore.
people.
Because I had gone to the loo. I had dinner. I'd gone to the loo and I came back and he was on his phone. He was sort of doing this, trying to shut windows
Oh,
down.
God.
And it was a dating app. And I was like, oh, you one of those, are you?
See-
It was kind of early on in the sort of
See,
courtship.
that's
And I was like, oh,
a
you
bit
one
of
of
a good
those,
way,
are
isn't
you?
it? So
It
you
really
go,
was.
so you go to the loo at dinner, you come back and he's on a dating app.
Yeah, and
It's
you
not a
just kind
great
of think,
thing.
no,
That's
it's
not good.
It's
That's not a
like-
good look.
But and then every now and then, so that was like quite a few years ago now. Every now and then, a message pops up on my Twitter. He tries to find me somewhere and sends me a message. I'm like, really?
Wow.
You think you'll stand a chance?
Amazing.
Well, you weren't probably
great
here from
story.
it for a while.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, I
Probably
wasn't
go to-
expecting that turn,
He's
I must
very
admit.
strange.
I bet. He's been struck off, hasn't he?
Yeah, but this guy also is like obsessed with these things. He said he was a sex addict. He used to do these articles
No, they
in
all say
newspapers
that.
saying, I'm a sex addict.
yeah.
Then he'd do these things all about, I'm a dating coach. Then he was on sort of celebs go dating or something. I'm like,
What?
this guy is just like,
No
just
wonder the
keep it in his
NHS
pants.
waiting list is
Yeah,
so
what is
long.
wrong
I mean,
with
this guy's
you?
doing no doctoring at all.
definitely not.
Unbelievable. Anyway, this
Benny
is a
Hill
great
style.
start, guys. Now, coming up,
Wow.
here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Eurovision, which, of course, is this weekend. And I'm expecting lots of information from you, Steve, because you're the expert. And also a bit of China, as Donald Trump would say. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and of course, we've already had quite a good start. I mean, there's extraordinary revelations there. I mean, it might turn out to be one of those shows where, by the end of it, everybody's confessed to knowing somebody who's been in the news. I'm not going to go first, obviously, but I'll tell you what I am going to do is I'm going to nominate Olly Alexander, who is, of course, the Eurovision Song Contest entrant from Britain. This year, I think it's in Sweden, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at Ollie's talent, because this is apparent. I think this is the song he's going to sing. Here he is.
Make me dizzy from your kisses. Will you take my hand? Take me back to the beginning again.
Is this like parody Eurovision? Because that is the worst thing I think I've ever seen. I don't really care that he's wearing a bikini top, but it looks ridiculous.
Yes.
Because he's not got anything in the bikini. And also, he can't sing.
He can't even hit the note.
He's just not even... I mean, I don't know if he will be auto-tuned on the night, Steve, but
well,
I mean, that is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Apparently what happened with that performance is his microphone, which is attached to the back of his jeans, fell from his backside. So he couldn't hear himself.
Yeah, but that's
kind of singing.
Yeah, but that means...
That's the oldest gag in the book.
Yeah, but you can either sing...
oldest gag in the book.
But you can either sing or you can't sing. It doesn't matter what you can hear. I can hear and he can't sing.
I used to date a singer years ago, and she used to say to me...
Has she been arrested for anything?
No. I don't even tell me.
Date night.
Well, anyway, we're moving swiftly on from that. And she used to say to me, that was the oldest gag in the book, which is where they couldn't actually hear themselves. Right. And as a result, their singing was off key or it was out of tune. That's attitude.
Well, I saw him on a show in America about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was dreadful. So I thought I'd go and see his band. I thought I went to see his band years and years, and he was really good on that night. So I was expecting really great stuff. I think personally, guys, he's way out of his depth with Eurovision. He's not happy doing it.
He's about 60-1 as far down the polls as
I wouldn't even bother turning up with
that.
No. It's actually a really good song.
No, it's
except
not.
For when you sing it live.
Is it? Well, it's not his song, is it?
No.
But it's not his song. I mean, I've heard it sung by other people who can actually sing.
My money's on the gender-neutral satanic woman from
No, there's a Palestinian who's singing.
Of course there is.
Of course I think you've got to put your money on the Palestinian.
Okay.
But
what
the
do
reason
they do?
I've actually
Executions on stage?
Yeah, I've not nominated him because he can't sing or because he's wearing a bikini. I've nominated him because he says that he's ambivalent about the Union flag because he finds that it can be sometimes divisive and nationalist. Now, I've got some news for this little bozo, Ollie. The flag's a nationalist. You know, it's for a national flag.
Yeah.
It's a national flag. It is nationalist. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If you want to support Britain, you wave a British flag.
Or get
you don't
out.
wave a bloody German flag, do you? Or a Japanese flag, or an American flag. You're a nationalist if you like Britain.
Or a
What's
rainbow
wrong with
flag.
that?
Yeah.
Or a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll see a lot of at the old Eurovision. But ambivalent about the Union Jack, and yet he's representing Britain. I just think that's terribly
I personally, get him off. Get him off. Get someone who's going to at least support the country.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to support the country, support the country.
Our flag on his weird empty bra top there.
I think he did. But apparently he's ambivalent about it.
Very.
Ambivalent bikini
I mean, at least he didn't say it was racist and colonialist, although maybe he was told by his team not to go that far. But I'm sure he doesn't feel ambivalent about all the other countries' flags that you'll see being flown at Eurovision.
No,
it's just the British flag that people go over. You go to other countries and they have their flags hanging up everywhere, outside every restaurant, every shop, people's windows outside their houses. And nobody has a problem with it. No one says, "Oh, they're nationalists,
they're racist
evil,
or whatever."
They're racist."
No,
you know,
if
I'm Italian and I fly an Italian flag outside my house, people don't go, "Oh, you hate the Spanish, you hate the French, you hate the English." No, you're just proud of your country, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, how many Italian restaurants are there in London with Italian flags?
Thousands.
You know, in the window and on the menu.
Posters of Mussolini.
Yeah. Steady. That's only one you go to.
Hang on. Which restaurant's that? I haven't been to that one. Yeah.
So, Steve, give us a few Eurovision facts, because, I mean, you'll be covering this, I'm sure, over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year's ceremony could be the most controversial, problematic.
There's a problem about Israel and Palestine, isn't there?
Of course there is. And, you know, I know venues that were going to show it on Saturday, and they're completely
clear. Are they
closing.
still doing that?
No, well, lots of people are
Israel's
closing.
in it. Don't tell me they're closing it, because Israel's
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we talked
Israel,
about this on Plank a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
didn't we?
when Israel's song, I think, was played, there was booing and all sorts of stuff going on.
Really is. This year there could be. I mean, Ollie's had to step up security apparently, left, right, and centre around.
Can any of them sing?
They haven't told him to take off the bra yet, but it might happen. I think I'd look better in that bra, by the way.
I think you would, Steve.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm always available for a performance or two.
Yeah.
My dad, he actually, he's very eccentric, and he wore for like the village festival or whatever. He decided to dress as a merman, and he wore a bra and attached clams to it, and wore a seaweed skirt.
Right.
But he didn't really put enough bits of seaweed around it, and he just had his boxers on.
I see. Well, that does sound like fun,
paraded through the whole village.
See, that's great. That's what
I think your dad and I will get on very well.
That's proper British.
Get your dad on the programme.
Yeah.
I mean,
proper British eccentricity, isn't it?
Love
that's what we want. Right, it's back to you, Alex. Talking of Palestine.
Yeah, oh, God, help us. us. These UCLA students, now they're over here, Oxford and Cambridge are at it as well, and well, basically, students have no lectures to do anymore, not that they pay tens of thousands of pounds.
How can this be the end of the summer? This is the end of the summer term, and it's only May.
Colonialism, Palestine, genocide. You know, it's like a sort of random, miserable left-wing word generator.
Right.
But what we actually come to realise is not only are all of these utter morons brainwashed by TikTok and Instagram and all of that. I mean, they are brainwashed and they have no idea that they're the pawns in a far bigger game because you've got all these bots from Iran just feeding them lies.
Yeah.
Not only are they like so privileged they think they don't even need to go to lectures, but they're so clearly exhibiting actually what the real left wing are about, which is Nazism. They are the genocidal Nazis. They're the fascists. They're the ones shutting down the debate. They're the anti-Semites. They're the ones who have no nuance. They're the ones who, you know, the volume's being turned up and up and up and up. At a moment, one of them's going to snap, and then we'll all see. It'll be on full display what these organisations are all about.
And this time in New York, I think they vandalised the World War I memorial,
exactly.
right? And they burned some flags.
But worse than that, you've had some of these protesters actually go and protest Holocaust Memorial March at Auschwitz.
Yeah.
What is wrong with these people?
I know.
Incredible.
What makes absolutely no sense to me is when these Palestine protesters, they call Israel and they call Jewish people, they call them Nazis. And I'm like, hang on, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Talk about this sort of colonialisation. What I'd like to do is sit them all down, make them sing Kumbaya and educate them about what's happened in the Middle East. The land, the birthplace of Christianity, where there are basically no Christians left because all the countries that were once Christian or had Christian populations have been colonised by the Arabic world. That is what real successful colonialism looks like. That is what real successful genocide
but now they're
looks
busy
like.
colonising the rest of the world while nobody's paying any attention. You know. But I mean, the other thing that happened over the course of this last week was that all of this spread to Oxford and Cambridge. And I had to say, I had a slightly wry smile when I was reading about the tented city that they'd started up in Cambridge because they were singing From the River to the Sea a lot, and then they stopped for some food. And you know what they had to eat?
What?
They had some pesto pasta and focaccia bread.
Of course they do.
And I'm going, sorry, actually, this is actually a parody of a student sit-in.
It's almost haram.
I mean,
It's almost haram in itself.
I actually loved watching the scenes in America when the riot police went in. And all the journalists had on like the war kit, didn't they? The hard hats and bulletproof vests, and they just stormed it. And I'm like, I wish we had tear gas in the UK. Can't we
and there was one great picture from Colombia, and it was of a sort of a janitor trying to stop this guy from breaking through a door. And the caption read that the guy who was trying to break through the door was a trust fund kid who lived in a £4.5 million house in Brooklyn. And the person trying to stop him from going through the door was a janitor who's paid $19 an hour. And that's the reality.
It is the reality. And the problem is, I think a lot of people are completely oblivious, and I'm quite kind of furious with the media that they haven't reported more about the intelligence networks and the agitators. You talk about the bots from Iran. There are sponsored operations that are backed by Iran that are putting agitators within these particular groups of students to basically fire them up, to get them pushed, to get their agenda across. This is not being covered. This is not being talked about. And within my community, within the intelligence community, we know it's been going on for ages. It's happened for many, many years in many different countries. And we're seeing exactly the same taking place here. And that's what's so infuriating. If I was a parent of any one of those students, I'd be saving my money, pulling them straight out.
Also, a lot of them are Americans. A lot of them in the UK, not the American ones, because they're obviously Americans, but a lot of the ones protesting here are Americans, being influenced by the Americans doing it in America. Get out of the country, visa ended, done.
I agree.
Prevent people's education,
Exactly.
If you're over here on a student visa, that is denied. It's
Chloe, sorry, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's absolutely hilarious that last week we were all focusing on how these tent cities have exploded across Dublin because of migrants coming in and making the streets a complete mess. We've taken those down, and then we've opened up a load more tent cities across every university.
And you know what's weird is that all the tents look the same. So somebody's making a lot of money out of selling tents.
I was in that game.
I mean, you know, it's like...
Iran probably mass bought them.
Yeah, they probably did. And just sold them all on.
No, it's discount code, Iran.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the other thing that's been going on, of course, is the fact that there's been various different viral things, but one of the things that went viral this week was one of their posters that went out which had Palestine spelt wrong.
Brilliant.
It's just
one thing to do.
Yeah.
One job.
I mean, it really is absolutely ridiculous. Will,
Yes, sir.
More international news.
Oh, well, kind of. I mean, this is to do with the... and you and I spoke about this week,
yes.
Mike. And this is to do with the hack on the contractor
China.
doing the payroll for the MOD.
Yes.
And 270,000 armed forces personnel, men and women, as well as obviously reservists and some of the veterans had their payroll information, which is basically their bank account details, their names, and in many cases the addresses as well.
Right.
And then we have Grant Shapps coming out of the woodwork with his 8-point plan. It was like another episode of In the Thick of It.
Yes.
So you could see the advisors behind the scenes.
How's he got 8
Grant, we're
plans?
going to work on 8. And Grant's going, I can't remember all 8.
Yeah.
I need a prompter.
Can I just have 5?
Exactly. Could I have 3?
You know.
And the ridiculous thing about it is, number one, there was no admission that it was China. And
Right.
and literally, if it barks, it wags its tail. It's got fur on
It's
it.
a dog.
It's a freaking
They're
dog.
eating it.
Yeah, and it's a dog, and they're probably eating it. Thank you, Michael. They're probably eating it. So, long and the short of it, Grant Shapps stood back, and the reason being is for protocol and etiquette. He didn't want to create problems or put the government up to a position where they then
To be
had
fair,
to impose
we don't
sanctions.
want Grant Shapps anywhere near anything, because this is the guy who
To be honest,
made the missile misfire when he was in...
Yeah.
And also when he was on that plane coming back from Poland, and the Russians jammed a radar.
I know.
This guy's a jinx.
Yeah,
I don't want him anywhere near him.
He's a problem magnet.
Yeah.
So, coming up with this 8-point plan, literally, and I'm not just saying this, I mean, there are many others who are equally capable. Put me and my team in where you could sort this out, literally within 2 weeks. You could get this problem sorted out.
Yeah.
And you could prevent this kind of information being compromised. There are other databases. There's like an armed forces Facebook, if you like. That is, I'm not going to mention what it is, just in case there's anybody out there who's thinking of trying to hack it. That is almost more compromising. And we're waiting for that to happen because the security around is absolutely rubbish. And the problem is we've got to wake up to the fact. And the Treasury have actually put out a job application this week for head of cyber crime, cyber unit, sort of CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, for 56 grand a year. Who are you going to get for that?
You can get more money for a diversity job.
CISO in any major organisation is going to get paid 250k. 250k easily.
What I think's remarkable about this, so I had an email come through last week from the EU, obviously I used to be elected, saying, by the way, all of our employment records have been hacked.
Right.
At the same time, of course, that President Xi was going to visit Macron and then Ursula von der Leyen. Now, what is so ironic is who tomorrow is going to the EU to lecture them all about the risk of cybersecurity in Russia and geopolitics? No one but Lord Cameron
Lord Cameron.
Ping Norton.
Yes.
The man who sold half the country to China. The man who, before being, coronated as the unelected foreign secretary, who basically does more work than Rishi Sunak, was there taking Chinese money to try and sell their sort of infrastructure initiatives in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, because he thought it was a better idea.
And he's going to lecture the EU after they've just been hacked by China while China was on a visit about China. Make it make sense.
I think Cameron still thinks he's Prime Minister, doesn't he?
I think he just enjoys the private jet lifestyle, because you see he rented one the other day that was like 45 million quid. To buy or to make, and he was taking it and flying it all over, sort of shuttle diplomacy, Cameron style, and he just goes to places and says not very much of anything.
No.
But I mean, we don't really need the Chinese to hack into our systems. Look at what happened at the airports this week.
Oh, well,
I
I level some serious question marks and suspicion over a £378 million software system, which. And when we look at the information that was passed between the various major airports on the passport channel, some of the passport channels were working, but a lot of it wasn't working. And the simple reason being is that that's one very important way of the various agencies passing information on, Mike Graham or Will Geddes or Alex Phillips, for that matter, coming in and going, right, this person needs to be stopped, needs to be interrogated. The system went down for so long. Putting it down to the fact that this system fell down for technical reasons.
Yeah, because it was busy.
I ain't buying that.
No, it fell down at the same time last year.
Yeah.
It falls down whenever it gets busy. That's what everybody knows. So, our IT systems in this country, particularly the ones that are attached to government, are useless.
Yeah, I have 3 different Wi-Fi networks at my own home. In the event that one goes down, I'm sure at a major airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, you'd have a capability that if it falls down for whatever reason, you've got a backup.
Also, I mean, suddenly they're worried about checking people's passports for whether or not they might be terrorists. Doesn't seem to bother them in Dover, does it?
Yeah.
We're back to Natalie.
Funny that. Yeah.
There we are. Right, coming up in the next bit, we're going to be doing this. Hadrian's Wall. That's the wall between Scotland and England, mostly. And also Generation Z, as I call them. Steve's got some updates for us. This is Plank of the Week with more after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We've still got some unruly people here who don't seem to know when to stop talking and when to start talking, but never mind. We'll get there in the end. I'm glad to say it's back to Chloe Dobbs, and you decided on Hadrian's Wall.
So, cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
If you're strapped for cash, guys, talk to the Tyne and Wear Archives and Museum Organisation, and they'll pay you 5.7k to do 12 days of work to do what? To decolonise Hadrian's Wall.
That's pretty good, isn't it? That's pretty good money. It's like 500 quid a day.
I mean, but why is it? But why is it exactly? How do you decolonise it? Do you put a plank on it saying this wall is evil, or do you go
knock it down?
Do you go knock the whole thing down and destroy all the history?
It's quite refreshing because normally it's we evil Brits who are colonising everything, but actually Hadrian's Wall was built because we were colonised by the Romans.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Yeah, but that's what they've got wrong, though.
Yeah, this is what the thing that doesn't make sense. I don't know if they've checked their history and realised that this isn't anything to do with Britain doing anything evil. I mean, this is the Romans who colonised us and built that wall.
They actually built the wall.
I mean, should we get the Italians to pay this 5.7 grand?
Well, I mean,
this is publicly funded, so this is the taxpayer who's paying someone 5.7 grand to go decolonise a wall. It is as bonkers as this decolonisation madness has gone.
I think they set the spars at Bath.
This was built like 2,000 years ago, and we're still concerned about this. Really?
But that's the point. Some idiot in the council has reached out to find some kind of expert to say, you know, we really ought to look at how we treat Hadrian's Wall, because people come to look at it every day, and what they don't know is how awful Britain was at that time. Not because of the Romans invading it, but because we were horrible, apparently. And so they've got it completely round their ears.
I think colonisation's got a bad name. I think actually the British Empire was a blimmin' good thing. Having lived and worked across the Commonwealth, you'd be surprised, actually, you'd be very surprised about how many people in former British colonies kind of go, shame you left, really.
Yeah.
We're in a mess now.
It's gone horribly wrong. Yeah, absolutely
what about all the
right.
great things that the British Empire brought? You know, international global trade, education, Christianity, the English language.
Doing away with slavery.
Yeah, railways,
sort of
roads.
But you know what? If we go to Hadrian's Wall and we talk about the Romans, I mean, what about straight roads? What about irrigation? What about plumbing? What about the various other things that the Roman Empire?
Well, you're defending the Romans now.
Why not? They brought a heck of a lot to a country which needed that sort of infrastructure help.
Yeah, but they murdered loads of British people.
That happened.
Look at how much infrastructure we have.
I don't care, by the way.
We have all this infrastructure that was built by the Romans all those thousands of years ago. And it is still standing because it was built so well.
Yeah.
Whereas the council will put some tarmac on a road now, and 5 minutes later it's full of potholes and it's crumbling apart. So bring the Romans back. Come colonise us again.
Can we get the Vikings and the Normans and all of them back?
You don't need them. You don't need them. We've got the Green Party now. Yeah. They'll do it for us.
I mean, what's it? Tyne and Wear Council, is it? Which one is it?
Tyne and Wear Archives and Museum.
Yeah, maybe we should get the Romans
I had to write
back.
it down because...
we could get the Romans back to run that. But the great thing about Hadrian's Wall, of course, it wasn't built to protect anybody. It was built to keep the Scottish out.
Keep the Oatmeal Savages out.
Because the one place...
Build the wall.
And my father was very, very proud of this. The one place that the Romans never conquered was Scotland. They went and had a quick look over the border and went, I don't think so. We'll leave these guys to their own devices. They're all painted in blue and they're all drunk. And so I think we've got to stay away, you know. And they've never been back.
There's that one chap with a blue face with an Australian accent.
Yeah, there's him, Braveheart, mate. Yeah, how's it all going? Yeah, but I mean, Hadrian's Wall's a weird one as well. Have you been there? Because it doesn't actually do what it says on the tin. Because you think it runs all the way. It doesn't really run all the way across.
No, it's a bit like Trump's Wall.
Yeah. Well, no, Trump's Wall's better, actually. Because Trump's Wall is a fence, by the way. It's not a wall. And it was already there before he said he was going to build it. But anyway, no, Hadrian's Wall and that part of the world is fascinating because you can go in and out of England and back into Scotland. And there's a part like Berwick-upon-Tweed where half the town is in Scotland and half the town is in England.
Well, most of Hadrian's Wall is actually in England, with the north of it in England as well, isn't it, basically?
Well, because the Scots wouldn't let them build it in Scotland. You know, that was when the Scots actually were capable of doing things, as opposed to ruining everything. Right, anyway, let's move on to Gen Z.
Can we have a massive go at Gen Z?
Yes, please.
I'm only bitter
please.
because I'm not one anymore.
I'm on for it.
Yeah.
I know you might be surprised.
I never was.
I'm in my 40s.
Are you? I
thought
you were 20.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought you were 60.
Does that make you a sort of top end of a millennial?
I think I'm a boom or just really old.
No, I don't think you're a boomer.
Sure,
I think you have to be over 50 to be a boomer.
I'm getting there, mate.
Oh, no, I'm over 50.
Yeah.
I'm not a boomer.
Oh, you're not?
No.
What are you then?
Yeah.
I'm a Gen X.
Gen X?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're Gen X.
Really?
Gen X, yeah.
Well, it turns out they're...
Not even a millennial.
You know, they're a very fragile bunch.
Yes.
The current thing that's freaking them out, God bless them, is phones ringing
Yeah.
So most people get really freaked out now if their phones actually ring.
Yes.
And they're like,
fear
lots
of
these
phones.
people have never answered their phones.
What?
Yeah.
Never answered their phones. They're like, no, just WhatsApp me.
Yeah.
Just send me a message by Insta. Just TikTok. Are you one of them?
She's going to go with this.
I am very confident talking to somebody on the phone.
Right.
Unlike a lot of these Gen Z lot who are like, oh, I can only send a text, I'm scared. I do it because it just ruins my train of thought and my focus on my work. So I put my phone on nighttime mode the whole time so no one can call me, and they can leave a message or say, call me back if they actually need something from me.
Okay.
Wow.
It has improved my productivity.
I must say,
so
if somebody
much.
calls
But
you
hang
now-
on, if everyone of your generation is the same as you, well, who's calling you?
Is
it her doctor?
I'm not
Hey?
friends. I'm not friends with anybody in my
No, but who's
generation.
calling you then?
Just probably people who want money off me.
Oh, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you say you're much more productive,
It's
you
just
must
it's
have had a lot of phone.
work calls and
Right.
stuff, and people to call me to say I haven't filled in a form that I was meant to fill in. And
See, I
boring
hardly
stuff
ever
like
get
that.
phoned by anyone.
I get it
When
all
I used
the
to work in
time.
newspapers,
Yeah.
I was always getting
So am
called.
I.
I love.
I'm a big
hate
voice
messaging.
noter too. Love
I
a voice.
But they
Like, it
always
takes
drone
too
on
long.
way
You
longer
miss the
than it
tone.
should.
For important conversations, just pick up the blimmin' phone.
No,
I
but
do it all
whenever
the
someone
time.
says to me, "Oh, like it will just be a quick call, it'll just take 2 minutes," it never takes 2 minutes. It's always like an hour. And even if they say, "I gotta go,"
Well, you
They
must.
just-
Well,
they
then you
keep on
need. Well, this is
droning
why
on.
you
They
don't
need to
know
shut
phone
up.
etiquette. You don't know phone etiquette because you don't use the phone. You just say, "Look, I'm a bit busy. What do you want? Hurry up, tell me," and then you put the phone down.
It's like every call I have with you, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, mostly I ignore them. But, you know, apparently one out of four of these Gen Zers has never answered the phone.
Never
ever.
answered the phone.
No, never. So
Have you
let's
seen
have a look. Considering they've all got phones, right?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at a report here from CBS News.
How often do you guys actually call one another?
Never. Never. Yeah, we don't ever call.
So what do you guys do? Text?
Well, yeah, we text.
90% of Gen Zs are anxious about speaking on the phone. And some say an awkward phone call is one of the top 3 things they'd want to avoid in life. This 23-year-old knows it to be true.
I do get a little bit anxious. It's a lot of effort to like pick up the phone and have to talk all the time.
I mean, for God's sake, it's a lot of effort to pick up the phone and talk all the time.
There is also this other report about the way we text reveals how old you are. So there was lots of thumbs in that video.
That's
Those
true.
people are young, apparently.
Yeah, the people that can do that,
If you're over 35, you're like me.
No, I'm going like
your
that.
Index finger, and I'm
like
trying
that.
to work out what to do.
Exactly. Well, my daughter actually is like that. She makes fun of me all the time. She talks about me giving her dad directions. She's like, just drop a pin, Dad. I'm like, what? No, I'll tell you, come out the station, turn right, make a left, there's a couple of trees down, there's the pub. She's going, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, have you seen that great little video that's doing the rounds on social media, has done for years, where they get a whole bunch of Gen Zs and they have an old school rotary phone, the rotary dial, and they go, make a phone call, and they're like, It's a bit like it's a bit like Space Odyssey with the monkeys hitting it.
The way that humans evolve, I mean, I wonder whether you'll get some kind of different sort of thumb to be able to use. And if they stop talking to each other, these people, these Gen Zers, maybe their vocal cords will just disappear.
Awesome.
And we'll end up not having the ability to speak anymore. Because they don't like to go out and talk to people. They don't like to ring people up. They just like to sit at home and text.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If they're communicating with each other to meet, as we all do, you might send a text or a voice note or whatever. But then when they get together, what happens? So they just literally sit there and just play on their phones.
Yeah, they often will just sit and scroll.
Come on, Chloe, tell us.
Chloe, what do you do?
What do you do, Chloe? Do you talk to your friends?
I do, and I'll tell them off if they sit there scrolling the whole time whilst I'm sat. Obviously, sometimes you're like, oh, I saw something really funny. Let me show you. They're trying to get your phone up. But this just fits into a general theme of that. People my age, they have confrontation anxiety. So it's not just the phone calls. If you're talking to someone and you need to tell them something and say, what you said to me there was really rude. If they need to set boundaries, this is in relationships as well, is that they are terrified to tell anyone. I'll have friends will talk to me and said, oh, so-and-so's treating me like this, like my boyfriend's treating me like this. And I'm like, oh, have you told him? Like, no, I don't want to make things awkward. I'm like, just say something.
Right,
have the
because
guts.
it's already awkward, right?
My friends call me a professional binner because they all send me in to go bin people and tell them off for them because they're too scared to do it.
This is amazing.
I do that, but I get paid for it.
Yeah, I seem to have to dump boyfriends for other people, it would seem.
Good practice, though, I suppose.
I mean, a speed dial, not the old call when I need your services.
It's a new job opportunity.
When
Alex would be great.
When I was a kid and we would say go into shops, my friends would ask me to take the sweets to the counter for them and pay for them because they're too scared to talk to the cashier and just go, oh, that's £1.50, please. OK, yep, here you go, thank you. They're too scared to do that. Restaurants, they won't order. Say, Chloe, can you order for me?
Yeah.
I mean, who raised these people?
I know.
Okay.
What's going on?
Here's a Gen X trick for you to play with your friends. So whenever I go out with my guys, we'll always put our phones in the middle of the table. Whoever picks theirs up first pays the bill.
Oh, wow.
So you have somebody go to the bathroom and ring somebody on a phone they can't
we do that as well.
And then that way they have to pick it up. Yeah. No, I can't answer it. Well, the other story about Gen Z this week was that they've now given up on sort of words which are insults, and it feeds into what you were saying, because they don't like insulting people, really. So words like plonker and pillock and toe rag and all these great words that we've been using, you know.
We're losing them.
Burke. Well, nobody's using them anymore. People are just not saying them because...
They just start crying if you just
You can't
have a
call
bit of
people
banter.
names, apparently.
Yeah.
What?
It makes them anxious.
Bring back bullying.
Bring back bullying.
True. I mean, you know, I wasn't hoping for that message from this show, but there we are. Plank of the week coming up. Guess what?
Why are you surprised, Mike?
It's my turn when we come back. We'll choose the winner, but also a certain prince is going to get a mention. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're almost at the final furlong, and we're almost at the point where I've got my final nomination as well. And there would be no point in doing Plank of the Week, would there, if we didn't mention one of them, either Harry or Meghan. And I'm afraid it's only Harry this week because Meghan's not here. She didn't come. She did because she's going to Nigeria instead because she discovered that she's something like 47% Nigerian, apparently. I don't want to say what the other... 53% is, but you can add as a guess, I suppose. So Harry decided he's going to come back to London and revisit the land of his birth because he's got some Invictus Games thing to attend, which is at St Paul's Cathedral. It was earlier this week. Unfortunately, his father, the King, wasn't able to find any time to see him.
That's telling, isn't it?
I mean, that has got to be one of the biggest and most ridiculous situations you've ever seen in your life.
That's a slap, isn't it?
It's a proper slap.
That's a proper public slap.
Now, there's a video I'd like you to watch, and this is of the moment that the phone call went in to Buckingham Palace.
That's brilliant. I love that. That's great.
I mean, obviously,
looks like he's Gen Z.
He must be.
He doesn't like answering the
Well, I
phone.
mean, if you had Harry as a son and he rang you, you'd feel anxious, wouldn't you? You'd be like, what's he going to ask me? And has he got Netflix listening on the other line? You know, or is he recording it? Because that's obviously the problem here. Is because the last time he flew over and he managed to get about 15 minutes of Charles's time, didn't see Camilla because she's obviously gone, I'm not seeing that little scrote because of what he said about me.
Yeah.
That's how she talks, you know. She talks like that. All right, he can bugger off. I'm not having it.
Rothman
I'm not having it.
Actually,
I'm not having it. Anyway, so, and then, of course, he goes back to America after seeing his father for 15 minutes, and he goes straight to the CBS studios and starts blabbing about how he had such a great time making sure that he was able to see his father, who happens to be suffering from cancer. So he's here. They were something like less than 3 miles apart. You can probably give me the exact, you know...
I'll give you the vectors later.
The vectors later, yeah. What do they call those Ordnance Survey marks, you know? So he's in St Paul's Cathedral. Charles the King is having a garden party at Buckingham Palace, very close by. And they couldn't make time to see each other. But, of course, it was Harry who then told everyone that he wasn't going to see his father, because they didn't even have to say it publicly. But he issued the statement saying, unfortunately, my father hasn't got time to see me. I hope to see him soon. It's really pathetic, isn't it?
It's pathetic. Do you know what else I've noticed, looking at the pictures of this sort of Invictus event? Meghan Markle always does this thing where she looks startled with a big Wallace and Gromit. Like,
yeah, that's what she looks like.
And now Harris started doing. He looks like he's got electrodes on his testes. He's constantly in every photo.
Well, he probably has. She's probably fitted them before he left.
Remotely.
You know, so every now and again, just to keep him, you know, keep him on his tiptoes. But yeah, so she's bypassing London. Decided not to come. I'm not sure what's happening with the kids. You know, they talk about wanting to spend quality time with the children. Yeah. And I think Archie's birthday has just happened as well.
Take those kids down Lagos. They love it.
Well, I don't think they're going to take them. I don't even know if they're going to take them.
That drive from the airport is a winner.
Yeah.
A winner.
So much fun.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Boys.
Take at least 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, a couple of pickup trucks full of riflemen.
And if you want to buy a charger for your mobile, there's plenty of them on that route.
I mean,
do you think she's going to go and be like, I'm a duchess sending emails. I could really do with your help. Please, can you give give me some money.
Yeah. Or will she bring any jam?
Nigerian prince.
Will she bring any jam with her?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I think she should. I think the Nigerians would be very grateful.
Yeah.
You know, for
yes,
some
they
of her jam.
like a bit of toast and jam, don't they, in Nigeria? Yeah, so Prince Harry, snubbed by his own father. I think the final ignominy.
That's pretty awful, isn't it? I mean, to be honest, the more and more he just further draws away from the royal family, they're just ostracising him completely. And I mean, why is he surprised?
Because why wouldn't
is he
they?
surprised?
I mean, some people say, you know, it should be the
sad.
parents' responsibility to sort of solve the family's problems. But I just don't think they can trust him. No. You know, because they take him into any room they take him into, he's going to be describing it to everybody on television.
Yeah,
he's got a phone on
record. He'll probably be
recording
it. Recording it in his pocket.
Right.
So who wants to go and have lunch with your son when you're just on edge the whole time thinking, is this going to end up in a Netflix documentary?
Yeah.
Am I going to say something and they'll twist it as me saying something racist? I don't know. So I don't blame
I don't, absolutely. Good riddance. When you go to Nigeria, don't bother coming back, thanks. Go straight to Los Angeles. Do not pass go. Do not collect £200 or anything else. Well, so here we are. Time to award the winner. Now, the thing is, I think it's definitely Natalie Elphicke, but I wonder whether it's Natalie Elphicke or is it Keir Starmer for actually accepting her back into the fold? I don't know. What do you think?
Ooh.
I mean, I would give it to Natalie Elphicke for being a plank anyway, because she is. Yeah. But I wonder if it's a shared one with Keir Starmer.
I'm supporting Will's unofficial nomination for everyone who voted Sadiq Khan.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Also, I want to give an honorary mention because I forgot. I forgot
you.
about this one. You know, Robert Kennedy, who's running as an independent to be president of the United States of America, he came out in an interview this week and said that part of his brain has been eaten by a worm. So I said, I assume this is him declaring himself to be running as a Democrat because he's obviously got more of a brain than Joe Biden. But anyway, all right, let's give it to Natalie Elphicke. Let's give it to Chloe. Thank you very much to Alex, to Will, to Chloe, and to Steve. We'll be back, of course, same time next week. Don't miss it. Plank of the week.